Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed private sector employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. I've got Russell with me here today. Hello, Russell.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah. Let's start off with the usual stuff here. We always, right at the top, we always promote these websites here. Of course, twc.texas.gov is the Texas Workforce Commission website. This is, of course, Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians for August 7th, 2020. I forgot to say that at the beginning. Yeah, 2020. Wow. So, yeah, back to the websites, twc.texas.gov. And, of course, their Facebook page, the Texas Workforce Commission Facebook page, is also a place where you can get up-to-date information about what's going on with Texas unemployment. And that's just Texas Workforce Commission after Facebook.com. And then, of course, our Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page on Facebook is a great place where we're putting all the links that we think are relevant, including the links that we're going to discuss today. I think there's only one today, but sometimes there are multiple. We also have our local union's COVID-19 resources page for musicians, and that's afm433.com/COVID-19. And then a really important website that we've been promoting is Who Represents Me, and that's how you can find out who represents you in the Texas legislature and in the national legislature as well. And also, I think school boards too, and that's wrm.capitol.texas.gov. And yeah, so that if you haven't checked those websites out for information, do that for sure. Yeah, and then we go into beverages. Russell, I'm doing coffee once again. You got a beverage over there?
Spring water.
Spring water. Yeah, beautiful. Right on. Okay. You can email questions to the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee of AFM 433 at ucac@afm433.com. So if you have a question, put her there. You can also get it from the chat. You can get it to us from the chat, rather. And we've put a little message there. If you're watching live, you can put a message in the chat down at the bottom on YouTube. But you could also leave a comment on our Facebook page, even the locals Facebook page, or the information sharing Facebook page, because we want to hear from musicians, and that's kind of what we're talking about all the time here on this thing. So yeah, I guess we should start off with the big news, and that's, of course, the HEROES Act still has not been passed, and there doesn't seem to be much of a substitute happening. They have a name, I guess, right? The Senate Republicans have a name for their act. Do you remember what that is, Russell? I can't remember now.
No, I don't. I just remember it being called the HEROES Act, but
Yeah, that
I don't
was.
remember what their exact bill was called.
Yeah, I can't remember now. It's not as catchy as the Heroes Act.
Right.
Yeah, their response, um, and it doesn't do as much for us, and we don't know. Yeah, we definitely our union and most labor unions, of course, are pushing for the passage of the Heroes Act as it is, because that, among other things, will extend to $600 a week, boost to unemployment across the country, and it does a lot of other things that'll keep people working, and kind of focuses on the workers rather than the corporations, which is usually the way we want to go, right?
Yeah, but there is something that we should be leery of in that bill for the Republicans
uh,
is that liability waiver
mm-hmm.
that indemnifies whoever from being responsible for injury or COVID being passed on.
Yes, yeah. When in reality, of course, if there's a danger of infection, you just shouldn't be
You
there
should
to
go.
begin
Yeah,
with. Yeah, if it's not going to be a safe workplace, what are we doing there? We shouldn't do that, right? Yeah, the other concern about that part of that bill is not only does it make it so that you have no recourse if your employer doesn't have a safe workplace, but also if you say something, the employer can sue you as a worker,
exactly.
which
Exactly.
is crazy, right? I mean, where are we going with this stuff? And it's very disturbing, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, that bill as it stands right now is pretty destructive.
yeah. I think destructive is a great word for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not just from a monetary standpoint, just from the liabilities that it places on Joe Citizen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just as a civilization standpoint, right? I mean, it's yeah, very destructive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh man. Yep. So, yeah, I guess we should put that in the we'll put that in the chat one more time. Our union's um, response to all of this. Um, there's a letter writing campaign. There's a petition. Several different things. There's a call-in campaign. You can use the phone if you prefer to use the phone. You can call and tell your senators what you think about all this. And I'm going to put that in the chat on the YouTube stream here. And of course, that's already been on all of our Facebook pages and websites and everything else. But it really does help. That's how we
It
let them
really
know.
does.
That's how we let them know. That we're watching them, right?
Sure, it really does.
Mm-hmm. They feel it. They feel it, man. So, um, a little bit by little bit, a lot of folks, think that their little contribution doesn't make a difference, but it really does. It's all of our small contributions together that really get the power moving here, and
Yep.
that's what we need.
Need
Yeah,
that synergy.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, next up is the only other thing on the only other article, excuse me, on the docket here is of course the announcement today in Austin that the Austin ISD school board has moved to uh, start school later, which is an employment issue for a lot of our brothers and sisters here. So they're not going to start school till September 8th now, which I guess is going to give them more time to get acclimated to the online systems, and prepare, and for the students to prepare. They need to get technology out to students and all kinds of things. Um, and then they're going to be fully online starting September 8th for at least 8 weeks, which is also an employment issue for folks that are parents. They going to have to make plans to have the kids home. How else does this affect our musician community, Russell? What do you think?
Well, I know that the staff will not be at the school, so
Oh yeah.
that includes the janitorial staff, and so it's going to have a trickle down effect. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
the way it
Absolutely.
stands right now is that there is no work for musicians, so most of them are branching out to other avenues, and those are being shut down, which is in any place to go.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and some of our musician brothers and sisters already work in those schools. They're band directors, orchestra directors, choir directors, and they work in the schools during the day and perform at night, so that's affecting them. Some of our musician brothers and sisters teach private lessons in those schools, either after
Sure.
school or during the class times, as private contractors. And I don't think that was going to be happening anyway because of the pandemic.
Right. Because of the virus. Yeah.
But yeah, but a lot of those lessons have moved on online, and so the recruiting for the new school year for those lessons will be delayed until just September 8th. They won't be able to start before then. Of course, private lesson teachers that have returning students in those cases can keep holding on, just like we're holding on to all of them that we have. Those of us
Sure,
who are
right.
teaching, yeah. Yeah. So, but and of course, our members who are our musicians who are parents, of course, that affects them too. They're going to have to figure out a way to have the kids home and all that, and won't have as many opportunities for alternate employment that way. So
Right.
it's definitely a concern for everybody. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's see. And then the only other thing on the agenda that I had was I saw something this week that I never saw before. With the union office was helping a musician with an unemployment claim, and so I'd like to run this by you, Russell, and see what you think about it. So this is a musician that had a fully mixed income. The person had. I'm gonna tell this person's story. I'm not gonna tell their name though. but they had a 3 or 4 different W-2 sources of income and several different 1099s every year, plus private teaching income, which that didn't have a 1099 or W-2. It was just a direct self-employment income. And they reported all this on their taxes. So they applied for unemployment in the way that we usually recommend, which is by reporting your self-employment income as the first, as the job you're focusing on, because the other types of income the TWC can find because it's attached to your social number, right?
Right.
And so this person did the application a couple 4 or 5 weeks ago, and got the denial for one type of unemployment, and then got accepted for the second type of unemployment, and he got his instructions for making the payment request and did so, but then didn't get a check. And then 2 weeks went by, he made the next payment request, did get a check, and then they got a notice around that time that their unemployment claim was not valid because they hadn't reported their previous employer properly. Which, how could that be? Because their previous employer was themselves,
Sure.
And so that's something I had never seen before. I don't know if you've heard anything about that, but have you heard about that from anybody else, Russell?
I haven't, but I think that that's pretty well directed toward this bill. I mean, it's sort of like a funnel. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I think that people kind of getting a little nervous and
Yeah, that could be that.
just kind of denying claims for no apparent reason, because it isn't like you could hide that. I mean, your Social Security number tells the story.
Yeah, it
If
does.
you got income, they know.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's all recorded there. In connection with the social number. So, but I wonder if you're right. That if they're kind of tightening up things in response to the uncertainty with the Heroes Act and the way
Sure.
that's affecting unemployment. Are they getting ready? To try to make that 70% calculation that the Senate Republicans were talking about. Maybe I don't know.
Well, theoretically, the Heroes Act is over.
Yeah, the CARES Act is
Yeah,
over. Yeah.
it's done. So
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So
kind of operating under a new set of rules here.
Right, right. Which is technically the old set of rules, I guess. Right. I guess they're back to
Right.
where they were. Um, in some ways, yeah. Although they're still gonna. There have been changes to the state system that are still in place, and that's what we're telling people. Keep making the payment requests because you're not going to get nothing. You'll get whatever the state part of what you
Sure.
got before was, just without that 600 on top. And for a lot of people, that's like between $200 and $500, and then they were adding the 600 on top. So, but it's different for everybody. But either way, don't stop making the payment requests because when something gets passed, it may retroactively go back to July 25th. It might. We just don't know. So don't give up on the payment requests. And yeah, even if they say you've reported your employer wrong, and even if that's you,
Yeah, you got to stay in that system.
yeah, the process that we take. At the union office is when that happens to somebody. Of course, this is the first time we heard about it. But when something like that happens to a musician, where it just doesn't quite make sense, and you need to get more information to the Texas Workforce Commission, and they say, "Oh, you can call us." But you can't really call them because you can't get through. So we call the state senator's office, whatever state senator you're in, whoever district you're in. We have you call, or we usually email the office on the musician's behalf because that gives a little more weight when it comes from the union office, and
Yeah,
we
it
just let
does.
them know, we just let them know that this, what's going on with this musician, and that they need to get in touch with someone at the TWC, and the senator's offices seem to be able to get someone within the TWC that's already empowered to solve the problem to call that musician and get the information that's needed. And that seems to be the best way to do it. Although I have heard of some people calling the Texas Music Office too, which makes a lot of sense as well. So we've had some success that way as well. So thank you to the Texas Music Office as well.
Sure.
Have you heard that at all, Russell? Anybody from your circle?
I haven't heard that, but it makes sense because that's in the governor's office.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's like 2 doors down.
Yeah, and I know you've been over there. Yeah.
That's how I know.
Got experience with that hallway.
I've walked that hallway a couple times.
Yeah.
I think that you have to do that. I mean,
hmm
it's funny now because, I have that card now. Then when I hand them that card, all of a sudden, I'm taken seriously now.
Which card is that? You mean the business card? Yeah.
This card from the union.
Absolutely. Yeah. 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 But even your union membership card, that
Sure.
that'll open some doors too, just
That
by
works.
itself. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So. Yeah.
And I
Well.
would encourage all musicians to proudly display those cards.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we've kind of been in an era where a lot of folks didn't talk about their union membership for a long time.
Right.
But now it's really waking back up, and we need to start talking about it, and we need the big musicians, to really let us know because they're all members, and a lot of
Exactly.
people don't know, I mean,
Yeah. They are there.
locally, folks like, Willie Nelson and Jimmy Vaughn and great musicians like that, Lucinda Williams those are all members of our local right here, but
Right.
folks like Taylor Swift and and big national acts are members, and we need to hear from them.
Sure.
The younger musicians need to hear that those folks are members too. And because they all are.
And why?
And
and
why?
why they are members.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it is a little different for every musician because our union does
Sure.
so much. Yeah. Oh man, absolutely. Not to get too far off topic, um, uh, but that is an important topic for sure.
It is.
So when you wanna get a hold of your state senator, this is what we're talking about. Not the United States senators, your state
Right.
senators about unemployment when you need help from them. Of course, the union office can help you with that. But if you don't live in Austin or you're not in our jurisdiction, you can still do it. I'm gonna put the link in the chat here, but it's that Who Represents Me link.
That's a great site.
It really is, yeah. wrm.capitol with an O .texas.gov, and that'll tell you who your state senator is. But it has been a little strange recently because our state senator for Austin retired in April, Senator Kirk Watson, and so we actually haven't had one in most of the city of Austin. So we've been calling the senator from an adjacent district, who her district hits a little bit of the corner of southeast Austin, but that's Senator Judith Zaffarini, and she's been helping a lot of our musicians out through her office. And there is something about the state senator's office that they're able to get a connection with the TWC.
Sure.
You know, we've had national legislators like Lloyd Doggett in particular, one of our House of Representatives members in the U.S. House, has been very helpful with getting information out. But his office doesn't have that connection with the state agencies because he's a national, congressman. So you really you want to get a hold of your state representatives about unemployment because it's a state issue. It's a Texas system, and it doesn't connect with any other state.
Sure.
So, yeah. So anyway, I don't have a resolution to that story that I was talking about from that musician, but that was the next step we took, was to go through the state senator's office and get into contact with the TWC from the inside like that, and
Sure.
hopefully I'll have an update next week on that, and hopefully it'll be a success. But yeah, man, gosh, what else did we talk about? We talked about the gig waivers. We need to talk about health insurance. I mean, it's important to have health insurance if you can do it. Some of us can't do it. We're very lucky in Austin to have several resources available to our union members. We have an agent that writes individual health insurance plans for our office, named Mike Colley down in San Antonio. Thank you, Mike. And he'll compare what he can get with anything else that you have, any other options that you have, and he's extremely honest about it, and he'll tell you yeah, I can beat that, or no, I can't beat that. You should take that.
Sure.
You should get that. So that's a really great resource. And then of course we have the Health Alliance for Austin musicians, the HAM organization, and they're changing up. We're gonna have an information campaign to our members and other musicians about the Health Alliance, because they're changing up their process for this fall. I don't know if you've seen in years past, in November, when open enrollment starts for the Affordable Care Act,
Right.
you got to go get in line at the HAM office, and there's this line down the street of musicians trying to get health insurance, and of course they don't want that this year, obviously with the virus. So they're going to start this month sometime, getting musicians signed up for the HAM organization first, and then they'll do individual consultations about open enrollment with the Affordable Care Act in November. They'll do that over the phone. So
That makes sense.
yeah, so they don't have this big line. Have you ever seen that line, Russell? That down in
Oh, I have.
Yeah,
I
you
have.
drive by and you're like, wow, look at all those musicians. I know some of those people. I
Right.
had to get my autograph book out.
We're right. So she's going to be here for a while. Why don't you just pass this forward?
Yeah, pass it forward. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, but look out for that, and that we'll start our information campaign pretty soon on that front. Yeah, I think that's about it. Do you have anything else you wanted to add for this week, Russell?
I think we touched on everything that I was looking at.
I think so too. And thank you for joining me today. And yeah, if you're listening, and you're in the music business, please stay in the music business and don't give up. We're going to give this. We're going to get through this together, and we will see you next week.
Yeah, and do consider joining.
Please.
We are a lot stronger together.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are stronger together. Excellent point, man. All right. Well, we'll see you next week.